In March 2017, Her Majesty's Inspectorate of Constabulary published an overview of police effectiveness 2016. It is not a national overview. The words Scotland and Ireland do not appear in it, as HMIC only inspect police forces in England and Wales. To quickly give you an overview of the overview, I've selected a paragraph from the overall performance section of this report. Durham Constabulary was outstanding. Those judged outstanding in some elements of policing were Norfolk, Derbyshire, Merseyside and Greater Manchester. Bedfordshire was inadequate overall. Gloucestershire had 3 requires improvement grades and 1 inadequate grade. Northants had requires improvement grades across the board. Forces which required improvement in 3 out of 4 areas were South Yorkshire, Sussex and Staffordshire. The Met had 1 inadequate grade and 2 requires improvement. So 1 force was judged to be altogether outstanding. 4 others were also ranked above the other 38 forces, and Sussex was amongst the also-rans. Judging by the bar charts in these reports, HMIC appear to have abandoned the idea that it is fairer to make comparisons between forces by dividing them into most similar groups. Now we have an overall winner and runners-up, as in a cake baking competition or a flower and vegetable event. HMIC also published separate reports on each of the police forces of England and Wales, including Sussex. If you were interested in knowing a little of what is in the Sussex report, you could not of course rely on Sussex Police or on its principal publicity proponent. I learned of the report's existence through the Argus Co UK, one of the few websites for which I switch off my ad blocker, as it is the only regular source of anything but publicity handouts about Sussex Police available to me. On the 2nd of March 2017, the Argus published almost 500 words under the heading "Sussex Police Need to Improve Effectiveness, Say Inspectors," starting with "Sussex Police are failing victims of domestic abuse and not effectively monitoring sex offenders. The force's effectiveness at preventing crime and antisocial behaviour has also fallen." The following day the subject was given more detailed treatment in an article of over 2,000 words, which included questions put to the Deputy Chief Constable about the report. It started with, "Sussex Police have issued a belated apology following a report which warns those who commit domestic abuse may not have been brought to justice due to poor victim support by the force." Deputy Chief Constable Bernie O'Reilly told the Argus yesterday that while his force was humble in the face of a government report saying it requires improvement, he did not feel it included anything which needed an apology. The 64-page HMIC document on Sussex Police effectiveness can easily be read on screen or downloaded after typing HMIC into an internet search engine. The remainder of this video comprises extracts from the Sussex report for anyone interested in seeing a brief selection of important points from it. The report has a clear structure. It starts with the idea that an effective police force is one which keeps people safe and reduces crime. The inspectors queried how effective Sussex Police were at that during 2016, using 5 categories, 4 of which were graded. Each was then given a separate section in the report, and each ended with a summary. To avoid any bias that could come from my own selection of material, I will show the categories and grades given by HMIC and simply print verbatim the first paragraph of each section's summary, starting with the ungraded Category 5. The effectiveness of every force's specialist capabilities was ungraded because these capabilities belong to the Home Secretary's Strategic Policing Requirement document, which is concerned with national threats like terrorist attacks, which are difficult to quantify and not confined to county boundaries. How effective are the force's specialist capabilities? Summary of findings. Sussex Police has good plans to mobilise in response to the threats set out in the Strategic Policing Requirement. It works well with other forces in the region when the need arises. Now for the categories graded using HMIC's current system. The complexities of each force's work in a category are reduced to a single adjective or verb phrase. HMIC judgments are outstanding, good, requires improvement, and inadequate. How effective is the force at preventing crime, tackling antisocial behaviour, and keeping people safe? 2 blobs out of 4 requires improvement. As a result of reducing the number of staff working in the neighbourhoods as a part of the local policing programme, the force's approach to preventing crime, tackling antisocial behaviour and keeping people safe requires improvement. The force has cut back the investment it makes in neighbourhood policing. Only 11% of its officers worked in neighbourhood policing, compared with the England and Wales average of 18%. Taking neighbourhood staff away from their roles and assigning them to other duties is having a negative impact on the force's preventative work, with less intelligence gathered and shared, resulting in less proactive activity to keep people safe. Currently, the local policing programme is restructuring how neighbourhood policing will operate and serve the public better from April 2017. How effective is the force at investigating crime and reducing reoffending? 2 blobs out of 4 requires improvement. Sussex Police's initial investigative response to a crime is generally good. Call handlers usually make the correct assessment and deploy the appropriate resource or allocate the incident to the appropriate department. All staff in the force who are involved in crime investigation have been trained in the force's new investigations framework. However, there is poor supervision of investigations into less serious crime, and this seems unlikely to improve under the new earned autonomy system. The overall quality of investigations is inconsistent, and the quality of the paperwork handed over after the initial investigation is often poor. This note of explanation was taken from earlier in the text. Earned autonomy allows for all staff investigating crimes to finalise their own crime investigations without a supervisor signing it off to ensure that it is being completed to the required standard. To achieve earned autonomy, staff are required to complete 3 crime investigations to the appropriate standard, and they are then given the authority by their supervisor to finalise their own crime reports. How effective is the force at protecting those who are vulnerable from harm and supporting victims? 2 blobs out of 4 requires improvement. HMIC had several concerns regarding Sussex Police's capacity to protect vulnerable victims. First, it has recently implemented a new system for handling domestic abuse incidents, which means that victims do not always receive a timely visit from an officer in person. A risk assessment is carried out over the phone in about 15% of domestic abuse cases, which means the risks are not being fully assessed and safeguarding action not taken quickly enough. However, all other risk assessments are generally completed promptly and to a good standard, and officers and staff understand the importance of taking appropriate safeguarding measures. How effective is the force at tackling serious and organised crime? 3 blobs out of 4, good. Sussex Police is good at tackling serious and organised crime. The force has a clear process for handling organised crime groups. Organised crime groups are included in existing processes for assigning tasks across the force, and intelligence officers have a good understanding of how best to gather intelligence from police and law enforcement agencies. However, the force's serious and organised crime local profile includes limited intelligence and information from partner organisations. This limits the force's understanding of serious and organised crime in Sussex. The overall grade given to Sussex Police was, predictably, 3rd grade out of 4.